At a campaign event early on Tuesday, Donald Trump claimed that Vice President Kamala Harris was lazy. She's lazy, he said. She's not doing these campaign events. He's doing nonstop, constant things, including working a shift at McDonald's, which she's never done in her life. But she is the lazy one. She's not out there doing anything. That's what Trump said early Tuesday. And then just a couple hours later, Donald Trump canceled yet another event that had been scheduled for Tuesday evening. It was supposed to be a virtual roundtable featuring Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that Donald Trump, who swears he's not exhausted, just simply didn't want to do, right? But he's not lazy. Harris, of course, is the lazy one, even though both her and Tim Walz were out and about all week and over the weekend, doing rallies, talking to people, and of course, Harris still doing her job as vice president, and Walz still doing his job as governor of Minnesota. So they've had time to do real jobs, not just playing make-believe at a McDonald's, and do interviews, and do rallies. Donald Trump, on the other hand, does an event early in a day, and then, of course, the sundowning sets in. So, I can't do this event this night because my brain's not all there anymore. Let's just cancel it. That's what we're witnessing. Because all of these events that Donald Trump is canceling, most of them are late afternoon or evening events. And with sundowning, which you see in people with, some sort of neurological degradation, they can function pretty decently in the morning and early afternoon, but once that sun starts to go down, which is why it's called sundowning, as the day drags on, they physically, mentally cannot do these things anymore. So when you apply that concept to Donald Trump canceling these events, it kind of becomes crystal clear of why this is happening. Of course, his campaign denies every bit of it, right? He's not suffering from exhaustion. He's not suffering from any kind of cognitive decline. As spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said this: President Trump is running laps around Kamala Harris on the campaign trail and has done media interviews every day this week. He has more energy and a harder work ethic than anyone in politics. No. Like, being a spokesperson for Donald Trump, I'm not going to lie, that's got to be the easiest job on the planet. You get paid God knows how much money, but I'm assuming it's a lot, and you just make stuff up. Like, you don't have to do any research. Your responses to questions don't have to be based in reality. You just say whatever crazy thing comes to your head, and you get paid. Like, a reporter asks you a question, you can just say, look, Donald Trump's the hardest working human being that's ever existed in the entirety of the human race. Nobody is better looking than him. He's the greatest. And if you don't think so, it's because you're a communist. I mean, that honestly is pretty close to the typical answer you get from somebody like Stephen Chung or Caroline Leavitt. But even in the event that Donald Trump did on Tuesday, which I showed a clip of it in a segment earlier today, he had no energy. He didn't know what the hell he was talking about. More and more frequently, in that event and an event over the weekend in Pennsylvania, he's sitting down. The dude never sits down. That's not normal. We can look at these changes in his behavior, what the campaign is doing to make things easier on this elderly man who shouldn't be running for president. He can't stand up anymore. He can't stand up for 2 hours and deliver a speech, at least not, after 2 p.m. He has to sit down. He has to rest. He has to cancel anything that happens after the sun goes down. These are all giant red flags. And as per usual, all those dots I just put together for you, those are dots that the corporate media is not going to put together. So there's millions of people in this country, possibly hundreds of millions, who don't know these things. They're not hearing these things. They're not getting these stories. So they have no idea that Donald Trump does not have the stamina to continue running for president. Instead, here's what will happen. I guarantee you this. Let's say Donald Trump wins the election, okay? And then 6 months after he takes office, we start to notice really hardcore cognitive problems with him. Do you know what happens at that point? Then the corporate media will talk about all these things that they've ignored for months. At that point, they will tell us, well, the warning signs were there, folks. Look at the last 3 weeks of the campaign. He canceled events. He was canceling interviews. He wouldn't do anything after, 5 p.m. All the signs were there. Why didn't the voters see it? That's what'll happen. Now, granted, that's the worst case scenario of if Trump wins, that's what we could see the media do. But it's predictable. They're not covering it now, but that doesn't mean they're not paying attention to it. They're just banking it. They're waiting to do voters, you guys were too dumb to notice this story 6 months from now if Donald Trump gets elected and starts acting like a lunatic wearing a tinfoil hat and underwear on his arms. That's what they'll do. They'll act like they talked about it the whole time. The public was just too stupid to pay attention. They will absolve themselves of their horrible coverage of Trump and pin it back on the voters, who, of course, had no idea it was happening because the outlets they trust to give them the news simply didn't do it. Did you know that you might be missing out on wonderful content from me? I mean, you're here already because clearly you like what you see. So if you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video, share them with your friends and family, but also follow me across the rest of the social media world. And it's not that hard to do. Whether it's X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, on every one of those platforms, you can find me at the username @FarronBalanced. Simple enough, right? So get on it. And if you don't feel like going to each one of those outlets individually, lucky for you, we have links in the description of this video to take you right to my pages across all of social media. So don't miss a minute. And while you're at it, make sure you're also subscribed to the Ring of Fire YouTube channel, which I have been hosting for many, many years now. We've got more than 1 million subscribers over there, and there is fresh content over there every single day of the week. So again, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to this channel, and while you're at it, go subscribe to Ring of Fire at youtube.com/The Ring of Fire and @FarronBalanced across every social media platform. That, of course, is not considered just a far-right hellscape. Well, maybe Twitter is, but that's a story for a different day.